if I nip it in a little bit at the underarm seams, I'm aware I'm doing this. Hi everyone, it's Liz. I hope you're all doing well. Recently I promised that I would restyle some band t-shirts. I have a collection of band t-shirts and festival t-shirts that I've amassed over the past few years, and the cool designs never come in girly fit, so I usually buy the t-shirts that I like with the anticipation of restyling them later. Without too much further ado, let's get started. So I've come up with 3 designs that I quite like the look of. For this Boxy t-shirt, I'm going for a boxy cropped look. I'm going to take the sleeves off and drop the armholes down, and then I'm going to just simply cut across the bottom quite close to the arctangent logo, and rather than do any hemming or finishing off a binding or anything, I'm just going to sew 2 lines of probably the triple straight stitch across, just to stop the edges rolling too badly, and I'm not going to really do much more than that. It's going to be quite simple. This second arctangent t-shirt is quite a lot bigger than the first one, and what I plan to do with that is resize it to the traditional girly fit t-shirt. And I have an arctangent t-shirt that already fits me quite well, so I'm just going to use that one to trace around and resize this one. And then I have this Lost Boys t-shirt that I bought ages ago. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a slight A-line shape. It's going to be ridiculously short, so I'll probably have to wear it with, like, I don't know, cycling shorts underneath or something. But I'm going to give it a slight A-line, and I'm going to take the sleeves smaller and give them a ringer style binding on the ends of them. And then what I'm going to do is use these cool zips, and I think I'm going to put some pockets in. So yeah, there's the plans. This one's the first one that I'm going to do something with. So with a heat removable pen, I'm just going to draw a line all the way down from just next to where the armhole begins, and I'm going to draw a line all the way down. I'm going to measure it. I'm going to drop it by about 2 inches down from where the armhole is now. I'm going to measure the same across on the other side, and then I'm just going to cut along the line with my rotary cutter. Don't know if you guys can see how wonky this is being printed on the t-shirt. So it's about 10 millimeters away from the arm side on this side, and about 3 centimeters away from the edge on that side of the arm side. So I can't line up using the bottom of this print to cut across. So what I am going to do is measure down from the bottom of where I cut the armhole, because at least I know that that is going to be straight. Using those 2 marks, which is going to look incredibly wonky compared to the print, but at least the t-shirt's going to hang straight. And now I'll take this over to the sewing machine, and I'll just finish this edge off using some straight stitches, and that's job's a good one. For this one, I'll try and be as clear as I can about what I'm doing, but it's a little bit tricky to see. But basically, I have folded the 2 big t-shirt in half so that I have a centre front, and then I've done exactly the same with the t-shirt that I want to use as a template. I'm then going to lie the neckline over the top of the other neckline and match up the centre fronts so that they are both aligned. And then I'm going to take the top t-shirt and just lay it out flat again, and that's because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mark where I want my new side seam to be, and I'm going to mark that out using chalk. And I'm also going to fold my arm back to reveal the armhole seam, and I'm just going to keep that in place. Now I've run into a little snag here in that my side seam and the armhole doesn't fit within the body of the t-shirt that's too big. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to bring this curve down slightly, down probably about an inch deeper than the armhole on the t-shirt that I want to use. And then what I'll have to do is just adjust the sleeve a little bit so that it's a bit deeper. But it's no big deal, we can work with it. So you might be able to see a bit better what I mean here by the armhole extends across the seam of the arm and the body into the arm on this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new armhole line here like this. So I'll have a slightly lower armhole, which is not the end of the world. And I'll just have to adjust my sleeve pattern to fit. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to cut it out of this first side here, and then I'm going to fold it over and use this cut side as a template for the other side. I've laid the sleeve that I want to trace around on top of the sleeve that we just removed, and I fold the t-shirt back to reveal the sleeve seam. Then I trace around the seam with chalk. I add about an inch to this seam to account for the deeper armhole. I walk the seam down the armhole to make sure it'll fit. Then it's cut out. I forgot to add seam allowance here, so if you're following along, make sure you add it. Then the sleeve gets attached with pins at the top and sides, and I run it through the overlocker. And the side seams and underarm seams get closed up in one pass, also with the overlocker. The hem's turned up by about 1/2 inch, and as is tradition, I cover stitched it with rainbow looper thread. So with this Lost Boys t-shirt, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to reduce the size of the sleeves to fit quite snugly around my bicep. When I've measured around my bicep, it's 11 inches. I want to make this just slightly bigger, and then I'm going to pull it in with a tighter band so that it has just a slight shape to it. And then what I'm going to do is create a new side seam all down the side. I'm going to keep the width of the body and make it a slight A-line. And then originally my plan was to add these zips as zipper welt pockets, but I think that the weight of anything I put in the pockets will pull the t-shirt dress completely out of shape, and it's not going to look good in the long run. So I'm going to create some faux zipper pockets. I traced the outline of the sleeve and side seam with chalk and cut it out, then folded this t-shirt to the other side to use as a template. The side seam and the sleeve seam were overlocked in one pass. Then I cut some bands from white jersey to make a contrast binding. I cut these 1 inch shorter than the width of the sleeve by about 3 inches high and joined the short edges together on the overlocker. Then the bands folded down in half and overlocked to the edge of the sleeve. I folded the band over the seam I just created and top stitched it down using a chain stitch on my cover stitch. But if you don't have a cover stitch, a triple straight stitch on the sewing machine would work too. For the decorative zips, I tried the t-shirt on with the zips pinned in several different places just to see what I liked, and in the end, I liked this placement best. I top stitched them on using white thread to contrast and match with the other white accents. After trying it on, I felt like it still needed something extra, so I cut a neckband that was 1 inch shorter than the neckline and 2.5 inches high, and joined it in the same way that I joined the sleeve bands, but this time I didn't fold it over and top stitch. Hello! Time for me to give my roundup. So I managed to do 3 different restyles of my t-shirts. I like some of them more than others, I will say. I think I really like the t-shirt dress most of all. It's definitely not school run safe, I would say. Not without wearing some leggings or something underneath it. It's quite scandalously short. I would probably, if I was going to wear this as a dress just with tights like I did when I was modelling it, I'd probably put some hot pants or something on underneath it, just you know, to preserve modesty. But I think it would look amazing if you're going out clubbing or something. It would look really cool. So my second favourite, if we're going to rank them in order of preference, is probably the grey crop t-shirt. And I really like that one, but I think I am going to have to go back and fix the side seams. I'm getting a little bit of like winging, for want of a better word, where it's kind of like pooching out a bit over the bust. I think perhaps it was just a little bit too tight fitting to achieve the crop look that I was going for, but if I nip it in a little bit at the underarm seams, I'm aware I'm doing this. If I just nip it in a little bit at the underarm seams, I think that'll fix quite a lot of the issue. And then obviously there's this one, you know, it's just a bog standard girly fit t-shirt really, there's not much else to say about it. If I was going to do this one again, I think I'd be tempted to just leave myself a bit more than 1/4 inch seam allowance, just because this is fitting on the tighter side, and you know, I've been eating a bit during lockdown and probably not quite as slim as I was back in January, but there we go. So I think that I would probably give myself a little bit extra on the side seam allowance just to make sure that it fit properly. And also I did notice when I went back over the footage that I forgot to add seam allowance to the sleeves, so that was a big issue. Well, it's not a big issue, but it has obviously taken the sleeves a bit higher than they need to be, which has left them poking out a little bit and also doing a bit of a weird wing. But again, I think I can probably fix that just by going in and altering the shape of the underarm seam, and rather than having it go straight across, just angle it up a little bit. Probably still some alterations to be made, but I can definitely see what I need to do. And have 3 very wearable different styles of t-shirt. So mission accomplished, with some caveats. So if you've made it this far, thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like and to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time. Bye!